Hello everyone, this is Dr. Romero with EDU-200 Foundations of Education here at Eastern Gateway Community College for the fall 2019 semester. I wanted to create a week 2 announcements video just to go through two things. First, some announcements and general trends that I unpacked during week 1, and the second thing is just a quick overview of what to expect for this coming week. Let's start off first with the content and the coursework for this week. So last week you all sort of got a little taste of what is to come in this Foundations of Education's class. You were able to unpack, so to speak, what we call the Teaching in You unit. And so basically you were able to learn the various intricacies that are involved in the teaching profession, learn about the day-to-day roles, and now we're going to move a little bit into a less practical direction and begin learning about the historical roots of education. So week 2 is going to be all about exploring the historical roots of education. You're going to be looking at international influences on modern day education, as well as how colonialism played a role in how we do education today and how it has been done historically. So in lessons 1 and 2, you have to read some modules that are provided to you that will give you a little bit of insight that you need to understand the history of American education. And so please be sure that you're following the written step-by-step guidelines that are in the lesson 1 and 2 folders for week 2 on how to go through these modules. For this week, you have 3 deliverables. That means that you have 3 tasks, essentially, that you have to complete. The first 2 tasks are your Lesson 1 and Lesson 2 discussion board posts. You all already know the expectations for these, so I'm not necessarily going to go through them, but I am going to elaborate on this a little bit later with the announcements on discussion boards. So for this, please be sure that you follow the word count expectations and that you reread the discussion board grading rubric so that you know how you're being graded. So word count for initial discussion board answers should be no fewer than 150 words, and your 2 peer responses per lesson should be no fewer than 100 words per peer response. Just a reminder, all of your initial responses to the 4 questions are due on Friday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And all of your peer responses, as usual, are due on Sunday by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I did get some emails last week asking about the time zones. We are going to stick to Eastern Standard Time for due dates. So as you're calendaring, as you're scheduling your week, please be sure that you're taking that into consideration for your coursework. The last deliverable, the last task that you have to complete for this week is an online quiz on the historical roots of education. You have to complete this quiz by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You only get 1 chance to take it, and I do believe it is a timed quiz. So before even clicking the start button on this quiz, please be sure that you have read all course content for the week. You have watched whatever videos, if there are any, prior to taking this quiz. Read, take notes, be sure you're fully prepared before clicking that start button, because you won't get a second chance. Alright, now I'm going to move into some announcements and some general trends. And the first thing I want to talk about is discussion board posts. As I was reading discussion board posts Friday, Saturday, and today, I noticed that there were a few that were below word count. In general, since this is week 1, I was generous with taking off points for word count and short responses. Again, it's the first week. We're trying to figure out what we're doing and how to do things. Different professors have different expectations. But I do want to mention that if these trends continue, if short responses continue, the point deductions will become larger. So please be careful. Note that this is a very, very discussion heavy course. So discussion board responses and points at the end play a large, large part in your final grade. So just keep that at the forefront of your thinking as you're completing your discussion board assignments each week. Also, note that even if you respond to more than 2 peers, 2 of those many posts must be no fewer than 100 words. So what I was noticing was that there were students who were responding to more than 2 peers, maybe 4, 5, 6, some did even more than that, and there were very short responses. So I don't add up all of those responses to equal 100 words or 200 words. You have to make sure that 2 of the many responses that you make, if you choose to do more than 2 per lesson, are no fewer than 100 words. Another thing that I noticed is that there were lots of grammatical, mechanical, and spelling errors. Please be sure that you're going back to check your writing prior to posting. So stay away from, just lingo like LOL and OMG. Be sure that your spelling is correct. When you're writing in your discussion threads, you're writing just as you would on a formal essay paper. So you're using standard academic English. Go back, check your work before posting to ensure that you don't lose points for little silly things like grammar, mechanics, and spelling. The other thing that I noticed with discussion board posts, and that maybe I wasn't necessarily clear, but some folks brought up in an email, has to do with differentiating your responses. And what I mean by this is I've noticed that, let's say there are 2 questions in a lesson for discussion boards for a particular week. I've noticed that some folks have been writing their answers in like an essay form. So moving forward, I'm encouraging you all not to do that. And what I'd like for you to do is label your responses so that we know what response goes with what question. So for example, there are 2 questions per week. If you're doing all of your writing in one thread, write DQ1 response and then your response under it, DQ2 response with your response under it. Do the same thing if you do one thread for your peer responses. And the alternative to that is you can also create a new thread for each new response. I think it's just aesthetically much easier to read as an instructor when I'm grading it, but also it's easier for your peers to read as they are looking through each week's discussions. So again, just be sure you label your discussions so that we know what answer goes with what question. Okay, the next thing I wanted to touch on is attendance. I wanted to reiterate on this, even though I sent an email out earlier or mid last week as I was getting frantic emails from students about attendance. We, as a college, do not use LoudCloud as the attendance taking method. So the way attendance in online courses works is that we look at discussion posts on Saturday mornings. If you've made at least 1 post in the discussion threads, you're counted as present for that week. If there's nothing posted, then you're marked as unexcused absent. We document weekly attendance in the EGCC self-service and not LoudCloud. So the EGCC online self-service platform is what we use to take attendance. So don't fret if you're continuously seeing yourself marked absent or randomly present in LoudCloud on various days. That doesn't change. I don't know how it changes, but that is not the platform that we use for attendance. We use EGCC self-service. One of the things that I cannot stress enough is being sure that you are posting your initial responses on Fridays, because the first thing I do Saturday morning when I wake up is pull out my laptop and just check that folks have been posting, and then I go and do attendance. So make sure you're doing that. Moving on to the next thing, emails. I am teaching over 260 students online in 8 weeks, which is a lot. And so I wanted to be sure when you're emailing me, I'm loving the introductions that I'm getting, and I'm appreciating the many questions that students have and many things that you all are bringing up to my attention that I may have missed. So thanks in advance to those who have been helpful with this. But I wanted to make sure that when you're emailing me, please let me know which course and section you're in so that I can better assist you. So because I teach 5 classes and over 260 online students, it does become difficult figuring out which class you're in. So if you are sending me an email, please let me know which course section you're in. So an example could be, hello, Dr. Romero, this is John Doe in EDU-200, section 501, and I have this question. This will help me go to that section in LoudCloud if it's a question about any course content, or if it's a question about grades, I can go into the EGCC self-service and go to the right course section. It just makes it a lot easier for me to help you. So just be sure that you do that in emails moving forward. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to mention about the class as we move into week 2 is that I have gotten emails about this as well, and I wanted to be clear. So at Eastern Gateway Community College, we do not offer what are called self-paced courses. So each week's new materials will open up on Sundays. So every Sunday, you'll get your new week's course material opened up. I got emails saying, hi, Dr. Romero, I finished all of week 1's assignments. I'm trying to access week 2 or unit 2, but I can't because I'd like to get a head start. That's not how it works. Just like you would in a traditional course, if you were in person, it's the same rules. We go by our calendar, you have scheduled due dates, and your course content opens up on Sundays. So again, super important to read the syllabus because these are questions that are answered in there. If you all have any questions, please be sure to shoot me an email. No question is too silly, but again, as I mentioned in the week 1 video, if you do ask me a question that can be answered in the syllabus, I am going to direct you back to the syllabus first. So please be sure that you have read the syllabus or the Getting Started folder in LoudCloud thoroughly prior to sending some questions over. But I am happy to help you and guide you along the way, so no question is too silly. I look very forward to engaging with you all in week 2. Please be sure to keep up with your work and reach out if you have absolutely any questions. Good luck.